WIPO is one of the 15 technical agencies of the UN, and what we do is that we use our expertise to help innovators and creators from anywhere in the world, including in Iceland, to use IP to take your ideas to the market. And what we do, how do we do this? Well, first of all, we provide services, and that's something very unique about WIPO. WIPO is the only UN agency that provides services directly to entrepreneurs, to companies, to allow them to move their patents and trademarks and designs, their technology, their brands and their designs right across borders. Of course, as a UN agency, we also provide an opportunity for people from all over the world to come to WIPO and to meet, engage, network, and talk about important issues connected to intellectual property as well as to innovation. And we also do a lot of work in supporting countries and people like you to use IP to grow and develop. And what we try to do now especially is that we're trying to build a more inclusive IP ecosystem where IP is not just seen as something only for IP experts and IP professionals, but it's a very powerful tool for inventors and creators and researchers and scientists and entrepreneurs to take their ideas to the market. Well, many of the global challenges that we face, climate change, global inequities, even the pandemic that we're only beginning to emerge out of, require technology and innovation to address and to be mitigated. So what WIPO does is that we try as expert agency for intellectual property and therefore for innovation to bring our expertise to the table and work with other UN agencies so that these challenges can be addressed. So for example, in the area of climate change, which I'm sure is very alive to people in Iceland, we have a global technology matching platform for climate change technologies called WIPO Green. And I welcome you to go to our website to find out more about WIPO Green. But essentially it's a way for people who are scientists and researchers and people in the research institutions to offer their technologies to people in other parts of the world. And this global platform, one that we run, allows the people of these technologies to connect with those who need this technology, so maybe halfway across the world. Right now, WIPO Green has got 130,000 technology offerings from many countries. And the technologies are already, for example, being deployed to help make, say, the palm oil industry in Indonesia more sustainable. So this is some of the things that we do that in which we can support the SDGs. Now, in terms of which areas are we focusing on, I think SDG 9, which connects to innovation, is clearly an area that we are very intimately involved in. We also focus a lot on SDG 17, which is on partnerships, because a lot of the problems that we have cannot be solved through one UN agency or through just one stakeholder. It needs a multi-stakeholder, multidisciplinary approach. So WIPO is part of that. But even another SDGs connected to, say, clean water or education or climate change, we believe that technology and innovation plays a part. So what we do at WIPO is that we help to provide and partner with other UN agencies and other NGOs to provide solutions. I think there are two big challenges that we are facing. One is that and this is not just for WIPO but for all UN agencies. How do we remain relevant to you who may not understand what we're doing and who may feel very distant from the UN family? And the way we have to do this, is that we have to stop being just a talk shop, and we have to be an agency, that doesn't just bring people to talk, but those talk leads to action. And so a lot of the work that WIPO is doing in the next few years, for example, we're focusing on women, youth, and small and medium enterprises, because these are communities that have traditionally been underserved by the IP system. The IP system is, of course, very well known by big companies, but we need to reach out more to SMEs and women and youth. And what we try to do is that we try not to just be a place where we talk about these things, but a place where we help member states, to do things around it. So we have, for example, just appointed WIPO's first IP and gender champion. And what we want to do is that we want to find concrete projects with different member states, including Iceland, where we can bring more women into STEM and more women into the IP industry. And we are also looking at youth, for example, in this area. This year's World IP Day which we celebrate on 26 April every year. It's around the theme of youth, and this year's World IP Day, which was around the theme of youth, had the most successful events ever. So we celebrated 600 events in 189 WIPO member states. We had 15 million impressions, right? And what we're trying to do is that we're trying to make people like you, young people, feel connected to the UN system and feel connected to the work we're doing at WIPO. And this needs to happen by being very concrete about what we can do. The second challenge that we probably face, right, is to how can we transform our organization internally, change and evolve the culture so that we as an organization are also able to have the culture where we are proactive, where we're energized about supporting you. And that's not easy because the UN, as you know, is a big bureaucracy. And for me, as the first DG of WIPO, right, to come from the outside, a lot of my work, right, is to give my colleagues the best environment within the organization, to find the best place they can work, to be energized about their work, right, and to, of course, ultimately reach out and find ways to support you. I think that's probably part of a lot of the work that a lot of the dilemmas that we face when we try and address global challenges. So let's take climate change, for example. In a lot of the work that is that is supporting the move towards EV-based vehicles, new challenges are created. For example, the batteries that are used to store energy and then to power the cars, right, themselves are made of compounds that may be toxic and that require specialized new technologies, right, in order to be properly disposed of after the batteries are used up. Even the use of electric vehicles, right, presents its own set of challenges as well. So I don't think there's any global challenge in which there is always going to be cost-free. A lot of the work that we need to do together with stakeholders like you is to see what are the trade-offs that we need to make and how do we balance the tensions. There's never going to be a perfect solution, but I think what's important is that we consult and we speak to different stakeholders, right? And so that but everyone's aware of the costs and the trade-offs that we need to make. And so when we finally make the decision, right, it's not just a decision that's top-down or opaque, but something that is open and transparent, right, and it's buy-in from all the different people involved.